Commander Alan Bennett stood at the observation window of Earth's last functioning orbital defense station. His tired eyes scanned the planet below. Once blue and green, Earth now showed ugly brown scars where the Zithrak bombs had fallen. HFY alien attack had lasted 10 years. 10 years of loss, pain, and slowly dying hope. Alan touched the small photo he kept in his uniform pocket. His wife Kate and daughter Emma smiled up at him. They had died 3 years ago when the Zithrak hit Boston. Sometimes he wondered why he kept fighting after that day. Maybe because giving up would make their deaths meaningless. "Commander, the Emergency Council is waiting," said Lieutenant Peter Owens, his voice tight with stress. Alan nodded and followed Owens through the station's dimly lit corridors. Power was being saved for defense systems. They passed injured soldiers and frightened civilians who had been evacuated to the station. Each face showed the same look, the hollow stare of people who knew the end was coming. The Emergency Council met in what had once been a storage room. 5 people sat around a table made from supply crates. They represented all that remained of Earth's government. "The Zithrak have sent their final message," said General Laura Hayes, her face grim. "Unconditional surrender within 24 hours or they begin full planetary bombardment." President Richard Carleton, once a powerful man with a commanding presence, now looked small and broken. "What can we offer them that they haven't already taken?" "Nothing," said Defense Minister William Grant. "This isn't about resources anymore. They want to make an example of us. The Zithrak have conquered hundreds of worlds. They don't allow resistance." Alan thought of the reports they had gathered over the years. The Zithrak dominion spread across nearly a third of the galaxy. They were ruthless, taking what they wanted and destroying anyone who fought back. Earth had fought longer than most. "How many evacuation ships do we have ready?" asked Alan. 17, said Hayes. "Enough for maybe 50,000 people. A drop in the ocean." The room fell silent. Earth's population had once been 10 billion. Now it was less than 1 billion. And they could only save 50,000. "We still have one option," said a quiet voice from the corner. All heads turned. Dr. Elaine Winters sat there, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, her eyes sharp behind old-fashioned glasses. She rarely spoke at these meetings, preferring to stay in her lab. "What option?" demanded Grant. "Our weapons are failing. Our shields can't stop their new bombers. We've thrown everything we have at them." "Not everything," said Winters. She placed a small data drive on the table. "Project Prometheus." President Carleton's face paled. "That was shut down years ago. The Ethics Committee worried about destroying the galaxy," interrupted Winters. "That doesn't seem like our biggest concern right now." Alan had heard rumors about Project Prometheus, a theoretical weapon so powerful it had scared its own creators. "What exactly is it?" Dr. Winters activated the data drive. A hologram appeared showing a device about the size of a car engine. Simply put, it's an energy manipulator that can harness the power of a dying star. But it's more than that. It creates a quantum resonance effect that can spread across vast distances, following similar energy patterns. "In English, Doctor," said Grant. "It creates a chain reaction," she explained. "Once started, it spreads on its own, targeting similar energy signatures. We never completed it because we couldn't control how far the effect might spread." "And this will stop the Zithrak?" asked Alan. "In theory, it could disable their technology." "All of it. Everywhere." The room went completely silent. "That's impossible," whispered Hayes finally. "The math is sound," said Winters. "But we've never tested it. The risks are substantial." "What risks exactly?" asked Alan. Winters looked him directly in the eyes. "Best case, it works exactly as designed, targeting only Zithrak technology because of their unique quantum signature. Worst case, it creates a cascade effect that spreads to all similar technology, including ours, possibly even affecting the fabric of space-time itself." President Carleton put his head in his hands. "So our choices are surrender and die, fight and die, or use this thing and maybe die while taking everyone else with us?" I can't make this decision, said Winters. I can only tell you it exists. Alan stood up. How quickly can the device be ready? Winters looked surprised. We have a prototype. It would need to be installed on a ship that could get close enough to the Zithrak command fleet to trigger the effect. It would be a one-way mission. How long? Alan repeated. 6 hours, maybe less. Alan looked around the room. Unless someone has a better idea, I say we do it. I'll pilot the ship myself. Commander, began Hayes. I'm volunteering, said Alan firmly. My family is already gone. Most of us in this room have nothing left to lose. The president looked at each face around the table. No one spoke against the plan. What choice did they have? Do it, Carlton said finally. God help us all. 6 hours later, Alan stood in the launch bay of the USS Defiance, Earth's last functioning battleship. The Prometheus device had been installed in its core. Dr. Winters was making final adjustments. Once you reach the center of their fleet, activate this sequence, she explained, showing him a simple control panel. The effect should be immediate. And if it works? Asked Alan. Winters couldn't meet his eyes. If it works, the Zithrak technology will fail. All of it. And if it spreads beyond them? She shook her head. I don't know. This was never meant to be used. Crew members rushed around them, preparing the ship. Lieutenant Samantha Nash approached. She was young, brave, and the best tactical officer in what remained of Earth's fleet. Navigation is ready, Commander, she reported. Chief Rodriguez has the engines at full capacity. Alan nodded. Good work, Lieutenant. Nash hesitated. Sir, the crew is asking, what exactly are our chances? Tell them we're going to make the Zithrak regret the day they found Earth, Alan said, not really answering her question. Over the next hour, the final preparations were made. The evacuation ships were loaded and ready to run the moment the Defiance created an opening in the Zithrak blockade. Alan recorded what might be humanity's final message, a testament to what they had been and a warning about what desperation had forced them to become. He ended it simply. Remember us for what we were, not for what we had to do. As the launch countdown began, Alan took one last look at the photo of his family. Then he put it away and took his place in the command chair. All hands, prepare for launch, he ordered. Today we fight for Earth. Today we show the galaxy what humanity does when pushed to the edge. The Defiance's engines roared to life. Above them, the Zithrak fleet waited, unaware that a desperate cry from a dying world was about to shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The USS Defiance broke away from Earth's orbit with a burst of engine fire. Commander Alan Bennett felt the ship shudder beneath him as they accelerated toward the massive Zithrak blockade. On the main screen, he could see hundreds of enemy ships, sleek, purple-black vessels that looked like predatory sea creatures. They're tracking us, reported Lieutenant Samantha Nash from the tactical station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. All Zithrak vessels in the northern quadrant are changing course to intercept. Alan nodded. That's what we want. Chief Rodriguez, push the engines to maximum. We need to draw as many of them away from the evacuation launch sites as possible. Chief Engineer Paul Rodriguez's voice came through the comm system. Engines at 110%, Commander. She won't take much more than that for long. The Defiance shot forward directly toward the heart of the Zithrak fleet. Alan felt sweat forming on his forehead despite the cool air of the bridge. The Prometheus device hummed in the cargo hold below them, its experimental energy systems tied into the ship's power core. Dr. Winters had explained it one final time before they launched. The device creates a quantum disruption that targets specific energy patterns. The Zithrak use a unique quantum signature in all their technology, something we discovered early in the war but could never exploit. This device will recognize that signature and create a cascade effect through their systems. And you're sure it will only affect their technology? Alan had asked. Dr. Winters had looked away. No, I'm not sure. That's the theory, but this was never fully tested. The quantum ripples could spread in ways we can't predict. Now, flying toward almost certain death, Alan wondered if they were making the right choice. Was it better to die fighting, or to unleash something that might have consequences beyond their understanding? The first Zithrak shot streaked past the ship, bright purple energy beams that could cut through Earth's strongest armor. Evasive maneuvers, Alan ordered. Keep us moving toward their command ship. Nash piloted the ship in a zigzag pattern, avoiding the worst of the enemy fire. Sir, Earth defense is reporting the evacuation ships are launching. The Zithrak are diverting forces to stop them. Alan clenched his jaw. We need to move faster. How close do we need to be for the device to work? Rodriguez appeared on the bridge, his uniform stained with coolant fluid. The device will work at any distance theoretically, but the closer we are to their command ship, the stronger the initial pulse. Dr. Winter suggested we get within 1 kilometer for maximum effect. 1 kilometer? Nash looked up in shock. That's practically a collision course. Then plot a collision course, Lieutenant, said Alan grimly. This is a one-way trip regardless. The Defiance pushed deeper into the Zithrak formation. Multiple hits rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems began to fail. Hull breach on deck 4, called a young officer. Emergency bulkheads engaged. Life support failing in sections 3 through 7, reported another. Alan gripped his chair as the ship took another hit. How many of the evacuation ships have launched? Nash checked her screen. 12 out of 17, sir. They're taking heavy losses. Alan made a quick decision. New plan. Target the nearest Zithrak destroyer. Rodriguez, prepare to activate the Prometheus device as soon as we're within range. But sir, protested Rodriguez, we're not near their command ship yet. We don't have time, Alan said, as another explosion rocked the ship. If this works at all, it works now. If not, at least we'll take some of them with us. The Defiance Hugh turned toward a massive Zithrak destroyer that was firing on the fleeing evacuation ships. As they approached, the enemy vessel seemed to sense the danger and attempted to move away. They're running, said Nash with surprise. Too late, said Alan. Status of the Prometheus device? Rodriguez worked at the engineering console. Ready? To activate, sir, but I should warn you again. We're past warnings, Chief. Activate the device. Rodriguez hesitated for just a moment, then pressed the sequence Dr. Winters had programmed. Deep within the ship, the Prometheus device began to power up. The lights on the bridge dimmed as it drew energy from the ship's systems. All power diverted. To the device, reported Rodriguez. Activation in 10 seconds. The bridge crew looked at each other. These were the final moments of their lives, and they all knew it. It's been an honor serving with you all, said Alan. A massive hit struck, the Defiance sending everyone flying. Part of the ceiling collapsed, crushing 2 officers at their stations. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Hull integrity at 20%, shouted someone through the smoke. Nash pulled herself back to her feet. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead. Commander, the device is still counting down, said Rodriguez, checking his tablet. 5 seconds. Another blast hit them. The view screen shattered. Emergency force field snapped into place, but the bridge was in chaos. Everyone to escape pods, ordered Alan. Nash, Rodriguez, get off this ship now. We're not leaving you, sir, said Nash firmly. That's an order, Lieutenant. Alan shouted as he pulled himself toward the main controls. Someone needs to tell Earth what happened here. Go. Rodriguez grabbed Nash's arm. He's right, come on. Reluctantly, Nash followed Rodriguez toward the escape pods. As they left, she looked back one last time at Commander Bennett, who stood alone on the broken bridge, blood streaming from a wound in his side. Alan watched them go, then turned back to the main console. The counter showed 2 seconds remaining. Through the force field where the view screen had been, he could see the Zithrak destroyer looming large. They were close enough now. He pulled the photo of his family from his pocket one last time. I'm coming home, he whispered. The Prometheus device activated with a strange, high-pitched whine. Alan felt an odd sensation, like his body was vibrating at a molecular level. The light around him seemed to bend and warp. Then came a pulse of energy so pure and white that it hurt his eyes. It expanded outward from the Defiance in a perfect sphere, passing through the hull of the ship as if it weren't there. When it reached the Zithrak destroyer, something extraordinary happened. The purple lights that covered the alien vessel flickered once, twice, and then went dark. The weapons that had been charging to fire simply shut down. Alan stared in amazement. It was working. The energy sphere continued outward, touching ship after ship in the Zithrak fleet. Each one went dark, weapons and engines failing simultaneously, like a wave of silence spreading across the battlefield. It worked, Alan whispered, sinking to his knees as his strength failed. The wound in his side was worse than he'd let on. As consciousness began to fade, he saw the energy pulse continuing outward, moving faster now, jumping from ship to ship as if following an invisible pathway. The Zithrak fleet, which had seemed unstoppable just moments ago, now drifted helplessly in space. His last thought before darkness took him was simple. Earth had a chance now. Humanity would survive. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, the wave of energy continued to spread, following the quantum signature of Zithrak technology across distances no human had ever imagined possible. Lieutenant Samantha Nash and Chief Engineer Paul Rodriguez drifted in their escape pod, watching the silent drama unfold through the small viewport. The Zithrak ships floated motionless in space. No lights, no weapons, no signs of life. "I can't believe it worked," whispered Rodriguez. He pressed a bandage to a burn on his arm. "Look at them, the whole fleet." Nash checked the pod's communication system. "This is Lieutenant Nash calling Earth Defense Station. Do you read me?" "Repeat. This is Lieutenant Nash from the USS Defiance." Static filled the small pod. Then a voice broke through. "Lieutenant Nash, this is Earth Defense. We read you. What's your status? What happened out there?" "The Prometheus device worked," Nash said, her voice shaking with emotion. "The Zithrak fleet has been disabled. All ships appear to have lost power." There was a long pause. "All of them? Confirmed?" "Confirmed," said Nash. "We need pickup. Our pod has limited oxygen." "Sending rescue now," said the voice. "Lieutenant, is Commander Bennett with you?" Nash looked at Rodriguez, whose eyes dropped. "No," she said quietly. He stayed on the Defiance. Within an hour, a small Earth patrol ship reached their pod. As they were brought aboard, Nash was stunned to see the faces of the crew. They were smiling. Some were even laughing and hugging each other. "What's going on?" she asked as a medic treated her head wound. "It's not just the fleet here," said the young pilot. "Reports are coming in from all over the system. Every Zithrak ship, every base, every piece of their technology has just stopped working." Rodriguez sat up straight. "The entire system? How is that possible?" "I don't know," said the pilot, "but it's happening." Back at Earth Defense Station, Dr. Elaine Winters worked frantically at her monitoring equipment. The station was buzzing with activity as reports continued to flood in. Mars Outpost reports all Zithrak forces neutralized. Jupiter Mining Colony confirms Zithrak ships drifting. Deep Space Relay Station 7 reports the same effect. President Carlton and the Emergency Council gathered around Winters Station. "Doctor, what exactly is happening?" demanded Carlton. Dr. Winters looked up, her face a mixture of amazement and horror. "The device worked better than we ever imagined. The quantum cascade is following the Zithrak energy signature and neutralizing it." "Just in our solar system, right?" asked General Hayes. Winters shook her head. "No, we're getting reports from the Alpha Centauri colony. Same effect. And now from Proxima Centauri." She pointed to her screen. "The effect is spreading at faster than light speeds, following the quantum signature through space like it's following a roadmap." "How far will it spread?" asked Carlton. "I don't know," said Winters honestly. "In theory, it could spread throughout the entire Zithrak Dominion, everywhere their technology exists." The implications of this sank in slowly. The Zithrak Dominion controlled nearly a third of the known galaxy, hundreds of star systems, thousands of planets. "We've won," whispered someone. Dr. Winters wasn't so sure. "We've done something, but I don't know if won is the right word. The quantum ripple could have unforeseen effects. We need to monitor this carefully. When Nash and Rodriguez were brought to the station, they were greeted as heroes. But Nash couldn't accept the praise. She kept thinking about Commander Bennett, alone on the broken bridge of the Defiance. We need to send a search team, she insisted to General Hayes. Commander Bennett might still be alive. Hayes nodded. We've already dispatched a team. But Lieutenant, you should prepare yourself. The Defiance took massive damage. Nash refused to give up hope. She joined the search team herself, piloting a small shuttle back to where the battle had taken place. The sight was eerie. Hundreds of Zithrak ships hung in space like dead sea creatures. No lights, no movement. The Defiance was barely recognizable. The once proud battleship was now twisted metal and exposed decks. As they docked with the shattered vessel, Nash felt her heart sink. No one could have survived this. With Rodriguez beside her, Nash made her way to the bridge. Emergency lights created weird shadows across the broken equipment, and there, still at his post, they found Commander Alan Bennett. "He's alive!" shouted Rodriguez, rushing forward. "Barely breathing, but alive!" They worked quickly, stabilizing Bennett and moving him to their shuttle. As they prepared to return to Earth, Nash noticed something strange on her scanner. "What is it?" asked Rodriguez. "I'm detecting an energy signal from the Prometheus device," she said. "It's still active." Rodriguez checked his own equipment. "That's impossible. The ship has no power." "It's creating its own power," said Nash. "Look at these readings. The quantum effect is growing." They watched in amazement as the energy signature pulsed stronger. Then suddenly it jumped from the Defiance to the nearest Zithrak ship, then to another, and another. "It's using their quantum signature like a path," said Rodriguez, "like stepping stones." From their shuttle window, they could see a faint wave of energy moving through the fleet, then stretching outward toward the stars. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Back at Earth Defense Station, Dr. Winters monitored the expanding wave. "It's accelerating," she told the Council, "and growing stronger. We're getting reports from colonies 8 light-years away now." "How is that possible?" asked Carlton. "Nothing can travel that fast. The quantum effect doesn't follow the normal rules of physics," explained Winters. "It's not traveling through space as we understand it. It's following the quantum connections between Zithrak technology." In the medical bay, Commander Bennett finally regained consciousness. Nash was at his side when his eyes fluttered open. "Did it work?" were his first words. "Yes, sir," said Nash, smiling through tears. "Better than anyone expected. The Zithrak fleet is completely disabled." Bennett tried to sit up but was too weak. "The evacuation ships?" "All safely returned to Earth," Nash assured him. "But sir, there's more. The Prometheus effect didn't stop with the local fleet. It's spreading throughout the galaxy following the Zithrak quantum signature. Their entire empire is being affected." Bennett stared at her in disbelief. "The whole empire? That's impossible." Dr. Winters entered the room carrying a tablet with the latest readings. "Not impossible, Commander, it's happening. We're getting reports from farther and farther away. The effect is spreading faster than light itself." "Is it dangerous?" asked Bennett. "Could it affect our technology too?" Winters shook her head. "So far it appears to only target the specific quantum signature used by the Zithrak. Our systems are unaffected." Over the next few days, the reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy. Human colonies that had been under Zithrak control suddenly found their oppressors powerless. Allied species sent messages of confusion and hope. The mighty Zithrak dominion, which had seemed unstoppable for centuries, was collapsing in a matter of days. On the 7th day after the Prometheus device was activated, President Carlton addressed what remained of humanity. His face appeared on screens across Earth and all human colonies. "People of Earth, citizens of humanity," he began. "1 week ago we faced extinction. Today we stand at the dawn of a new era. The Zithrak threat has been neutralized, not just here but across the entire galaxy. He paused, his expression serious. We did not seek this power. We did not want this war. We acted out of desperation with our backs against the wall. But now we have a responsibility. As the Zithrak Empire collapses, many worlds will need help. Many species that were enslaved will look for leadership. The president's voice grew stronger. Humanity will not become the new conquerors. We will reach out with open hands, not closed fists. We will help rebuild what was destroyed, and we will ensure that no empire can ever again threaten the freedom of any species. Across the galaxy, a new day was beginning, and it had started. With one desperate cry from a planet on the edge of extinction, 6 months passed. Earth began to heal. Cities that had been reduced to rubble now buzzed with reconstruction crews. Fields that had been scorched by Zithrak weapons were replanted. The skies, once filled with alien warships, now held only stars, and the occasional human vessel. In orbit around Earth, a new ship prepared for its maiden voyage. The Horizon was humanity's first true exploration vessel, built from parts salvaged from damaged ships and with technology developed during the Long War. It represented hope for the future. Captain Samantha Nash stood on the bridge of the Horizon, watching her crew prepare for departure. She had been promoted after the events with the Prometheus device. Commander Bennett had personally recommended her for the position before retiring to help with Earth's rebuilding efforts. Engine systems check complete, Captain, reported Chief Rodriguez from the engineering station. He, too, had been promoted and had personally overseen the construction of the Horizon's engines. Thank you, Chief, said Nash. Communications, send our departure message to Earth Command. A young officer nodded. Yes, Captain. Earth Command wishes us good luck and safe travels. Nash took a deep breath. Navigation. Set course for the Proxima Centauri colony. Let's see what's happening out there. The Horizon broke orbit smoothly, its engines glowing blue against the blackness of space. Their mission was to visit human colonies and outposts that had been under Zithrak control, and to gather information about the state of the former Zithrak Dominion. Dr. Elaine Winters joined Nash on the bridge. The scientist had insisted on coming, along to continue studying the Prometheus effect. Captain, I've been monitoring the quantum ripple. It's still spreading, but at a slower rate now. Any negative effects? Asked Nash. None that we've detected, said Winters. It seems to be exactly as theorized, targeting only the Zithrak quantum signature. But I'm concerned about how far it's spread. We're getting reports from over 200 light-years away now. Nash nodded. The implications were staggering. The Zithrak had controlled thousands of worlds across a vast section of the galaxy. What was happening on those worlds now? The journey to Proxima Centauri took just 3 days with the Horizon's advanced engines. As they approached the human colony there, Nash was nervous. This outpost had been under Zithrak occupation for 5 years. We're receiving a transmission from the colony, said the communications officer with surprise. They're welcoming. So on the main screen, the face of a man appeared. He looked tired but happy. Earth vessel, this is Governor Frank Miller of New Hope Colony. We can't believe you're here. The Zithrak left 3 months ago. Nash stepped forward. Governor, this is Captain Samantha Nash of the Earthship Horizon. What do you mean, they left? Their ships just died, right in orbit. Then they abandoned them and fled in emergency shuttles, explained Miller. We've been free ever since, trying to rebuild. The Horizon docked at the colony's small space station. Nash led a team down to meet with the colonists. The story was the same everywhere. Zithrak technology had simply stopped working. Without their weapons and ships, the alien overlords had been forced to flee or face the anger of those they had oppressed. But where did they go? Nash asked Governor Miller as they toured the rebuilding colony. We don't know for sure, said Miller. Some fled into the wilderness. Others stole simple spacecraft, ones without their quantum technology, and left. Without their tech advantage, they weren't so scary anymore. Over the next few weeks, the Horizon visited 3 more former Zithrak-controlled worlds. Each told a similar story. On some planets, the Zithrak had managed to maintain control using primitive weapons. On others, they had been overthrown. But on every world, their advanced technology had failed completely. On a planet called Navaris, Nash discovered something unexpected. The horizon was met not just by humans but by representatives from 6 different alien species. "Welcome to the Free Alliance," said Kira Donovan, the human representative. She had been a slave in the Zithrak mines before the Prometheus effect. Now she was helping to coordinate between the different freed species. "Alliance?" asked Nash. Donovan nodded. After the Zithrak technology failed, many worlds were left without functioning governments or supply chains. We've been working together to help each other survive. Nash met with the Alliance leaders, beings with blue skin, with 4 arms, with feathers instead of hair. Species that had been enemies under Zithrak rule were now working together. "You are from Earth?" asked a tall being with silver skin named Zorn. "Then we owe you our freedom. The Zithrak controlled my people for 300 years. Nash felt uncomfortable with the praise. "We were just trying to survive. We had no idea the effect would spread so far. Nevertheless, you broke chains that bound hundreds of worlds," said Zorn. "Many call it the Great Liberation." Meanwhile, Dr. Winters made a disturbing discovery. Using the horizon sensors, she detected faint traces of the quantum ripple still spreading outward. "It's not stopping," she told Nash in a private meeting. "The effect has slowed, but it's still moving. And it's changing." "Changing how?" asked Nash with concern. "It's becoming more selective," said Winters. "At first it affected all Zithrak technology. Now it seems to be focusing specifically on their weapon systems and control mechanisms. It's almost as if the quantum effect is evolving." Nash frowned. "That wasn't part of the design." "No," agreed Winters. "This is something new, something we didn't predict." As the horizon continued its journey, they visited a planet called Teralis. Unlike the other worlds, Teralis had never been fully conquered by the Zithrak. Its people had developed technology that partially shielded them from Zithrak weapons. "We studied the Zithrak quantum signature for decades," explained Chief Scientist Wren of Teralis. "We never found a way to disable it, but we learned to shield against it." Dr. Winters was fascinated. "May I see your research? It might help us understand what's happening with the Prometheus effect." Wren agreed, and for 3 days Winters and the Teralis scientists exchanged information. When she emerged from their laboratories, Winters looked troubled. "Captain, we need to return to Earth immediately," she said to Nash. "I know what's happening with the quantum ripple, and it's not what we thought." During the return journey, Winters explained her discovery to Nash and Rodriguez. "The Prometheus device didn't just create a simple disruption," she said. "It created what the Teralis would call a quantum consciousness, an energy pattern that can learn and adapt." "That's impossible," said Rodriguez. "So was disabling technology across thousands of light years," countered Winters. "But it happened. The quantum effect isn't just spreading randomly. It's seeking out specific types of technology now, weapons of mass destruction, systems designed for oppression and control." Nash stared at the scientist. "Are you saying the Prometheus effect is alive?" "Not alive in the way we understand it," said Winters. "But it's not just a mindless energy wave, either. It's becoming something we never imagined." When they returned to Earth, Nash brought this information directly to the new Earth Council. Commander Bennett, now an advisor to the Council, listened with growing concern. "So what does this mean for us?" he asked after Winters finished her explanation. "I don't know," admitted Winters, "but the effect has spread to over 40% of the known galaxy now, and it's still going. Whatever we unleash that day, it's changing the fundamental rules of what technology can do in our galaxy." Bennett looked at Nash. "And the freed worlds? The former Zithrak territories?" "They need our help," said Nash firmly. "Many are struggling to rebuild. Some former slave species don't even remember their own homeworlds. They're looking to us for leadership." The council members exchanged glances. Earth, which had nearly been destroyed, was now being called to lead a galactic recovery effort. "We have a responsibility," said Nash. "We created this situation. We need to help fix it." Bennett nodded slowly. From nearly extinct to galactic leaders in 6 months. Who would have thought? Outside the council chamber, Nash looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, the Prometheus effect continued its silent journey through the stars, reshaping the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. All because of one desperate cry from a dying world. 5 years passed since the day humanity had faced extinction. Earth had changed beyond recognition. Cities rose from the ashes, more beautiful than before. Farms and forests reclaimed land that had been scorched by war. And in orbit, a massive space station called Unity served as headquarters for the Alliance of Free Worlds. Captain Samantha Nash, now Admiral Nash, stood at the window of her office on Unity Station. Below her, Earth looked peaceful and blue. Ships from 24 different alien species docked at the station, bringing representatives, traders, and travelers from across the galaxy. Dr. Elaine Winters entered the office, carrying a tablet with her latest research. She looked older now, her hair completely white, but her eyes still sharp and alert. "The final reports are in," she said without preamble. "The Prometheus effect has reached 92% of the galaxy. Its spread has slowed dramatically, but it's still moving." Nash nodded. "Any change in its behavior?" "It's becoming even more selective," said Winters. "Initially, it affected all Zithrak technology. Then it narrowed to weapons and control systems. Now it only targets technologies specifically designed for mass destruction or planetary-scale warfare." Nash considered this. Over the past 5 years, they had learned much about the Prometheus effect. It had indeed developed into something like a quantum consciousness, an energy pattern that could identify, learn, and adapt. It followed the pathways of similar technologies across vast distances, disabling those it deemed dangerous. "The Alliance Council is meeting in an hour," said Nash. "They'll want to know your conclusions." The Alliance of Free Worlds now included 64 species from across the former Zithrak Dominion. Earth had emerged as a natural leader, not through force or dominance, but because humanity had been the ones to break the chains that bound the galaxy. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from dozens of worlds gathered. Some looked almost human, while others were vastly different. Beings of crystal or gas, species with multiple limbs or eyes, creatures that communicated through color changes or scent. Commander Alan Bennett, now Ambassador Bennett, opened the meeting. His hair had turned gray and he walked with a slight limp from his injuries on the Defiance, but he carried himself with dignity. "5 years ago, we faced annihilation," he began. "Today we stand at the center of the largest peaceful coalition our galaxy has ever known. Dr. Winters has completed her 5-year study of the Prometheus effect. I invite her to share her findings." Winters stepped forward. She had presented to the council many times over the years, tracking the progress of the quantum ripple as it spread through the galaxy. "The Prometheus effect has fundamentally changed our galaxy," she said simply. "It has created what we might call a technological immune system. Weapons of planetary destruction, technologies designed specifically for mass killing or oppression, simply cannot function anymore." A representative from Zithis, a world that had been among the first conquered by the Zithrak, raised a hand. "Does this mean war itself is impossible?" "No," said Winters. "Conventional weapons still work. Ships can still fight. But the days when a single vessel could destroy a planet, or when automated systems could enslave entire populations, those days are over." The implications were profound. The galaxy had been forced into a new age, one where cooperation became more practical than conquest, where no species could dominate through technological superiority alone. "What of the Zithrak?" asked a representative from Neveris. "Have we located their homeworld?" This question fell to Chief Rodriguez, now head of Alliance Intelligence. "We believe we have. A fleet led by the Remembrance will depart next week to make contact." The Remembrance was the Alliance flagship, and Admiral Nash would command the mission personally, not as conquerors but as representatives of the new galactic order. After the council meeting, Nash found Bennett staring out at the stars from an observation deck. "Having second thoughts about the mission?" she asked. Bennett shook his head. "Not second thoughts, just Reflections. 5 years ago, we were desperate. We had no choice. But what we did changed everything, for everyone. All those species out there. We rewrote their futures without asking them. We saved them from the Zithrak, said Nash. Yes, agreed Bennett. But we also made a decision for the entire galaxy. No one should have that kind of power. Nash understood his concern. It was something many humans struggled with. They had not sought to become the center of a galactic alliance. They had only wanted to survive. The Prometheus device was our desperate cry, said Bennett softly. We couldn't have known what would happen. 1 week later, the Remembrance led a fleet of ships toward the coordinates believed to be the Zithrak homeworld. No human had ever seen it. Intelligence gathered from freed worlds suggested it was a harsh, cold planet that had driven its people to conquest out of necessity. As they approached the Zithrak system, Nash felt a strange mix of emotions. These were the beings who had nearly destroyed humanity, yet now they were going to offer them help. We're picking up signals from the planet, reported the communications officer. They're primitive by their former standards, radio waves only. Nash nodded. Open a channel, let them know we come in peace. The response took hours to arrive. When it did, the message was simple. Why have you come? To finish what you started? Nash replied personally. We come to offer aid. The galaxy has changed. We want to help you find your place in it. The Zithrak homeworld was a shock to everyone aboard the Remembrance. Once, it had been the center of a mighty empire. Now, it was a struggling world trying to rebuild with primitive technology. Without their quantum-based systems, the Zithrak had been forced to start over. The delegation that met Nash's team was cautious but desperate. Years without their advanced technology had left them vulnerable to the harsh conditions of their planet. Many had died. Why would you help us? Asked the Zithrak leader, a tall being with gray skin and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. We tried to destroy you, because that's not who we are, said Nash simply. Over the next weeks, aid teams from the Alliance helped establish new infrastructure on the Zithrak world. Medical supplies, food, and educational resources were distributed. Not as charity, but as the beginning of a new relationship. On the final day of their mission, Nash stood with Bennett on a hill overlooking the main Zithrak city. Primitive buildings stood alongside the ruins of once grand structures. Do you think they can change? Asked Bennett. Nash watched Zithrak children playing with human aid workers. I think they have no choice. None of us do. The Prometheus effect didn't just disable their weapons, it changed the rules for everyone. Back on Earth, a monument was unveiled in the rebuilt United Nations Plaza. It depicted a simple human figure with hands outstretched, not in surrender, but in offering. The inscription read, From one cry of desperation came a galaxy of hope. Dr. Winters, now frail but still sharp-minded, attended the ceremony. As she watched the monument being revealed, a young reporter asked her, Do you regret creating the Prometheus device? Winters considered the question carefully. We didn't understand what we were creating. We only wanted to save ourselves. But sometimes the greatest changes come from our darkest moments. The galaxy is at peace now, not through conquest or dominance, but through a kind of enforced cooperation. She looked up at the stars, just becoming visible in the evening sky. Out there, the Prometheus effect continues its journey. Not just disabling weapons, but changing how civilizations interact. It's almost as if the universe itself grew tired of endless wars and found a way to nudge us toward peace. The reporter looked confused. Do you mean it's alive? Conscious? Winters smiled. I'm a scientist. I deal in what can be measured and proven. But I will say this. We created something that day that was greater than ourselves. Something that may still be evolving, still learning. And perhaps that's the greatest discovery of all, that from our desperate cry for survival came something that gave the entire galaxy a voice. As night fell over Earth, ships from a dozen worlds rose into the sky, their lights twinkling like new stars. And somewhere out among the distant suns, the quantum consciousness born from humanity's darkest hour continued its silent work, reshaping a galaxy that would never be the same again.